Hello, my name is Don Brown, and this is an install I've done on this 2021 Winnebago Voyage travel trailer. Customer had picked out the major parts and panels he wanted. It's a very large system and maybe a bit overkill, but they wanted to be fully functional, including ACs off the grid with power left over. There was quite a bit of equipment to fit in this trailer, and yes, we kept within the CCC of the unit. Since lithium batteries like warmer environments, we decided to place them inside under the front bed. I used 4/0 cable for all the main lines, a master switch, and a pair of 400 amp T-type fuses for the entire bank, along with the Victron Smart Shunt is located in this compartment. Okay, so here is the main electrical bay on this RV. I have 3 main disconnects here. House does all the, obviously the 12 volt systems on the house. We have our main inverter and our secondary inverter. I have cooling fans all throughout in here, moving quite a bit of air throughout here, and I've actually got them ducted behind the panel underneath the RV. To where it should be able to bring in cool air and exhaust the cool air out from underneath without having vents on the side. I put a strip of LED lights in here just to kind of light things up a bit. Here's my plexiglass cover, and that will go on all this. Excuse me. So here we got our 2 MPPT 15070s from Victron, the charge controllers, 2 of them. Got a main disconnect circuit breakers. These is from the array up on top, and they come down through the lower voltage 100 amp circuit breakers to back to the main 12 volt system. We have an isolator DC-DC charger from the pickup, so we get some charge from the pickup while they're driving, but it won't fry their alternator. These are the 2 main fuses for the inverter. I had A and L fuses in here and had troubles with them getting hot, so I went to a T-type fuse. Considerably more money, but definitely worth it. These things don't get, they get warm, that's it. They don't get hot. The A&L just got way hot. I apologize for the kind of the cramped wiring. I should have made this whole board about 6 inches wider, but it is what it is. Making things work. It looks kind of cramped, but it's alright. The wires are just fine. I'm using 4/0 wires for all the main power lines to the inverters and from the battery bank. I have cooling fans down here underneath, and these are pulling air through a duct system I've got behind the board, blowing air up all through here. I will have the plexiglass cover will sit right here, but there'll be plenty of airflow going through here. I've got a temperature control up here at the very top to control the fans. It's an old school mechanical, reliable, no electronics to fail. Simply turn the fan on and off as needed. Here are 2 Victron Multipas 3000s, 1 main inverter, secondary inverter. I've used these a few times. I do like them. There's definitely a few quirks about them, and I would like to see some improvements. I'm going to be talking to Victron direct to give them my 2 cents worth, whether they take that seriously or not. But they're a good machine, and we can run. We actually ran both air conditioners on this machine off from battery power, and everything ran it just fine. Here's my AC junction panel. This one thing I don't like about these inverters is the lack of space inside. So I bring all the AC wiring into my own AC panel here. This customer still has a generator on board, so I incorporated the generator automatic transfer switch into this panel as well. I'm not going to go into real deep detail on how this all works. If somebody's really wants to know, send me a query and I can explain that a little more depth. But you need to have a little bit of AC understanding to understand what's going on here. Here's another one of my cooling fans, so bringing some cool air in, nice airflow. These guys have their own fans to move air, and so these on the other side, there's actually some fans back behind that's actually sucking the air out and blowing it underneath and out underneath the rig. So this is basically what we got going on here. We have 2,000 watts of solar on the roof, 2 arrays, 1,000 watts on each controller. And so we're putting roughly 70 amps in perfect conditions, maybe a bit more, maybe a bit less, depending on the sun, to the main battery systems. I've got the panels wired in series. I had various reasons for doing that. It's working actually very well on this rig. This is our main solar array. We have 10 200 watt rich branded solar panels. We went with these because of the space limitations on this RV. There's so much stuff going on up here, and it's a 35 foot, and so we were limited on space. I still have a few things, loose things. We're putting a satellite dish there in the middle, and we got a few wires to zip tie and stuff to finish. This customer also has a pretty extensive cellular and networking system going on, and so we have some antennas up here as well. I fabricated these. He wanted the antennas up here solid, but didn't want them to break off, and so I fabricated some spring-loaded mounts, kind of like the old CB antennas used to use. And total height, we were still within the height limit. You shouldn't really hit these on any underpasses, trees or whatnot. They will bend over just fine. Worst case scenario, he could bungee cord these down or zip tie them down if he doesn't want them sticking up in the air. But I think for the most part, should work just fine. Two different arrays. Basically, all the panels down this side are on one circuit, and all the panels down this side are on another circuit. Being an RV service tech, I tried really hard to leave enough room for the eventual service guys that got to work on these air conditioners. It can be a little tight up here, but it certainly can be done without having to remove any panels. Most of the panels are mounted down with just the basic brackets. These panels here, I went with a raised bracket to raise them above the vents, which allowed better placement of the panels. And these plumbing vents it doesn't matter that they're covered, there's still plenty of airflow underneath them. Basically just raise those panels up a few inches, which allowed that much more easy. It's kind of interesting, we're actually under a covered space here, which is really nice to work on all this, and it's amazing how much power I'm actually getting, even not a whole lot right now because the sun's off to the side, but in the mornings when the sun's shining in here, we were getting a lot of power. And it's funny, people talk about solar panels in series. When you cover one, you lose power. That's not necessarily the case anymore. These solar panels have bypass diodes, and basically proving the point this morning. I mean, we had just a few panels on one side getting a little bit of power, and we were getting plenty of power to get the batteries back up to charge. And in just the few hours we had of sun coming through the side, actually brought the batteries up about 10-15% this morning. I started with like 87% when they woke up, and it was 100% before the sun went up over the top. Customer has a 3400 watt Champion generator. A little bit of issue running two inverters, two battery chargers at the same time. It actually overloads this thing, but we figured out how to change some settings on the inverters to compensate that. You had questions on that. I could probably answer some of those questions as well, but it turned out to be a little more complex than we had anticipated. I actually incorporated another outlet off of the inverter system, a 30 amp 120 volt 3000 watt outlet. He has the capability, literally a second RV could plug into him and to operate, and or when he's sitting at home, he could plug some stuff, appliances like in his garage or whatever, into the system. Obviously you have to be kind of careful and be careful how you do that so you don't hurt the system, but he's got so much solar and battery power that and when you're just sitting at home, it's kind of it's a little bit of a way to get back a little bit of money, a little bit of your investment back, to be able to utilize the power in other ways, not just on the RV itself, especially when it's sitting at home and it's not doing anything. This is the Servo GX touch screen system from Victron. It's a fairly new product. They definitely have some bugs they need to work out of the system. We managed to make it all work properly. There's a few things I'd like to see a little bit different. Right now we're running solely on battery power inverting. Obviously we don't have really anything on right now because the loads are really low. Batteries are 97%, everything's happy. And we're only getting like 17 watts of power right now from the solar array because we're pretty much all shaded. And of course the batteries are almost fully charged, so the system's not really calling for power. Oh, there it is, jumped up a bit. Because the batteries aren't really calling for power, the system's really not even trying to charge at the moment. Everything's happy at the moment. So this is the Servo GX unit with the color display I showed you just prior to this. This is a fairly new product from Victron. It's a great item. I love the fact that all of this stuff networks and connects to this unit directly, and it has basically a single pair of cables that go from this to the display. It's a new product because they're still working on some bugs with it. Hopefully they improve it vastly quickly. I'm hoping for a firmware update on it sooner than later. But yeah, I like the fact that much simpler install and cleaner install. I did extend the HDMI port about 20 feet to the display, which works fine. However, the USB connection is for power. It would not extend. I had to use a little 12-volt USB plug on the other end to power the display,
They can run both ACs directly from battery power, or in direct sunlight can run one AC and still be charging the batteries at the same time. In the mornings, they can charge from around 60% SOC to 100% SOC in just a few hours. One issue with the Victron systems in general is that their controllers, such as the Servo system, at this time can only display and control one Multipas inverter. I and many others think that this is a huge oversight by Victron, and we're hoping for a firmware upgrade, as many people like having more than one inverter, one for line 1 and another one for line 2. However, of course, Victron just released the Multipas 2 inverter, which supports 2 lines directly, and that may change things up a bit. I guess we'll see how that transpires. As for now, the second inverter in this system is controlled by the app on the customer's phone. One other issue we ran into on this install is that when plugged in or running on the generator, if both Multipas units kick into full bulk charging, they together pull around 4,200 watts, which is more than the generator is capable of, and quite frankly more than most 30 amp RV park outlets are capable of. So when doing this, they can go in and turn down the input power settings on the Multipas units, which will of course take a bit longer to charge the batteries, but it's kind of a workaround. And however, with 2,000 watts of solar, with even a few hours of sun each day, I doubt that they will rarely ever need to run the generator or shore power if they stay in the lower states or in warmer, nicer weather, of course. I'll be keeping track of their adventures to see how the system performs, and hope to have an update in a future video or text format. If anyone has any questions or seeking help with similar installs, please feel free to send me a message. I hope to have a website up soon under rvsparky.com. Emails to rvsparkytech@gmail.com. Thank you for watching this video. This was one of my first videos that I've done, and learning how to edit. Kind of a fun, kind of a pain, but I will try to do more. I wish I would have recorded a few more videos of this system at the end, but the customer was excited to hit the road and head west, and so I let them go. And like I said, I'll try to report back at a later date. Thank you, and have fun.